So you're the one. He sneered, looking me up and down. The pathetic husband she left. I just smiled, jingling the keys to his new apartment building. Actually, I said, I'm your new landlord. And rent is due. The color drained from both his and my ex-wife's faces. I'm not sure I even know how to start this. Up until about a month ago, I would have told you I had the perfect life. 15 years of marriage. Nearly 20 years together with a woman I adore more than anything. I'm 46. She's 39. Just 6 weeks ago, she was leaving little notes in my lunch bag and texting me just to say she missed me. Everything was not just okay. It was good. It was our normal. Then came the talk. She asked if we could sit down after the kids were asleep. And my gut immediately clenched. We sat on the couch. The TV off. Which never happens. The silence was so loud. She started by talking about her friendship with our neighbor. He's a decent guy. And I was glad she had a friend on the block. She explained how they'd gotten closer. And then she looked at her hands in her lap and said it. We kissed. The words just hung there in the air. My brain couldn't really process them. It felt like a movie. Not my life. My first instinct, that raw, primal urge, was to get angry, to yell. But I looked at her. And she just looked so small. So I made a decision. Don't explode. Listen. I asked her to tell me everything. She started talking about things I had never, ever heard before. She brought up love languages, saying mine wasn't hers. She talked about communication issues. That she felt like she couldn't come to me with certain things. My mind was racing. Why am I just hearing this now? After 20 years. But out loud. I just said, okay. I hear you. We can fix this. I can fix this. I'll work on it with you. If you're willing. That's when she started crying. It was this shaky, broken sound. She nodded and said shed like that. For the first time all night, I felt a tiny sliver of hope. I thought, okay. The kiss was a wake-up call. It was a symptom of these other problems she couldn't voice. She confessed because she wants to save us. That thought became my lifeline. For the next month, I went all in. I read articles on love languages. I made a point to be more physically affectionate, hugs, holding her hand, small touches. I actively started conversations about her day, asking open-ended questions instead of just the usual how was work. I took on more around the house without being asked, trying to anticipate her needs. I was doing everything she said was missing. But a strange thing happened. The more I leaned in, the more she pulled away. The little touches were met with a stiffening of her shoulders. The conversations felt like an interview, with me asking all the questions and getting one-word answers. She started staying up later than me, staring at her phone, the screen casting a blue glow on her face in the dark. It was like a wall of glass was slowly descending between us. I was on one side, trying to show her I was changing, that I was listening. She was on the other, watching me with this empty expression I couldn't decipher. It felt like I was doing everything right, everything she asked for, but it was just making things worse. I feel like I'm going crazy. I followed the roadmap she gave me, but it's leading me off a cliff. Am I missing something huge here? How can trying to fix the problems she brought up be the very thing that seems to be pushing her away for good? That wall of glass between us got thicker every day, until I couldn't breathe the air in my own home. I finally couldn't take it anymore. Last week, I found her sitting on the edge of the bed, just scrolling on her phone. I sat down next to her, leaving a careful foot of space between us. Honey, I said, and the word felt foreign in my mouth. We have to talk. I'm doing everything you asked. But you seem further away than ever. What is wrong? She didn't look up from her phone for a few seconds. Then she locked it, placed it face down, and let out a long sigh. Since I stopped talking to him, she started, her voice flat. I've had a lot of time to think, and I realized I have feelings for him. My stomach dropped through the floor. What? How does that even work? You cut off the affair and then you develop feelings. My brain was trying to solve an equation where 2 + 2 = fish. It made no sense. Before I could even formulate a response, she kept going. And because of that, she said, finally looking at me, I'm not sure I want to be married anymore. My world didn't just crack. It imploded. It felt like the laws of physics had ceased to apply. This was the woman who was my entire universe for 2 decades. My immediate thought wasn't anger. It was desperation. This is a spiral. I have to stop it. No. I said, my voice shaking. We don't throw away 20 years like this. Please. Let's go to counseling. Let's talk to someone who can help us figure this out. I was begging. I could hear it in my own voice. And I didn't care. She looked away. But she nodded slowly. Okay. She whispered. We can do that. For the second time. A sliver of hope cut through the panic. I thought. Okay. She's scared. But she's willing. Counseling is the answer. The appointment was for this morning. I woke up with a knot in my stomach. But also with a plan. We were gonna go in there. Lay it all out. And a professional would give us the tools to start rebuilding. She was in the kitchen pouring coffee when I walked in. I saw her left hand resting on the counter next to the mug. My eyes went right to it. The skin where her rings used to be was pale. A faint indentation marking 15 years of history that was suddenly gone. You took your ring off. I said. It wasn't an accusation. Just a statement of a very clear, very cold fact. She didn't flinch. She picked up her mug and took a sip. I met with a lawyer yesterday. She said. Her voice as calm as if she were discussing the weather. I think you should do the same. The hope I had been clinging to didn't just die. It was executed. The counseling session wasn't a rescue mission. It was an ambush. She let me schedule it. She let me believe we had a chance. All while she was planning her exit. Then came the line I've only ever heard in movies. She looked me dead in the eye and said, I love you. But I'm not in love with you anymore. I want a divorce. My whole body went numb. I stood there in my own kitchen. A complete stranger to the woman I'd spent half my life with. She had made this decision long before she told me about the kiss. All my efforts. All my reading. My trying to change it was all a performance for an audience of one who had already left the theater. How do you even begin to process this? How do you deal with the fact that the person you trust most in the world has been letting you play the fool in a story she finished writing weeks ago? The last few weeks have been a masterclass in psychological torture. I feel like I'm living in 2 separate realities at once. In one reality, my world has ended. I find myself crying in the car after dropping the kids off at school. In the shower where the noise of the water hides the sound. In the garage at night because it's the only place I can be alone. I feel like a ghost haunting my own life. Then there's her reality, which has somehow become the law of the land in our house. In her reality, everything is fine. It's just business as usual. She insists that we remain civil and respectful in front of the children. I agree. Of course I do. But her version of civility is a terrifying, sterile performance. She'll ask if I remembered to pick up milk with the same tone she used to tell me she'd hired a lawyer. The other day, she walked in while I was trying, and failing, to hold it together at the kitchen table. She didn't ask what was wrong. She just sighed and said, Can we please try to keep the tension down? Tension. That's what she calls my heart being ripped out of my chest. Tension. My brain is screaming for a reason. Just one. Solid. Honesto, God reason. But every time I ask, the target moves. One day, I sit her down and ask why. She says it's about money. That she's felt suffocated by our finances. The next time I ask, she says it was the intimacy. That she hasn't felt desired in years. Then it's communication. Then it's that she married too young and never got to experience life on her own. I feel like I'm in a courtroom trying to defend myself. But the charges keep changing. The logical part of me knows that none of these are the real reason. They're just the easiest excuse for that particular day. And then there are the clichés. My God. The clichés. It's like she swallowed a self-help book written by a robot. I've gotten them all. I love you. But I'm not in love with you. I need to go find myself. You're a great dad and a wonderful husband. Which is always a great thing to hear from the person leaving you. Maybe we can be friends down the road. If you let go of the relationship and it comes back. It's true love. Each one feels like a pre-packaged, soulless line designed to make her feel better. Not me. It's not a conversation. It's a script. The worst one was when she told me, I can't promise you how I'll feel in a year. So if you find happiness, you should take it. She's offering me permission to move on from a marriage she's destroying. As if it's some noble gift. Honestly, I feel like a piece of old chewing gum that's lost its flavors, pat out onto the pavement without a second thought. The most brutal part of this whole nightmare is that I still love her. After all this. After she has decided that I am not worth the effort. I still look at her and see the girl I fell in love with 20 years ago. The mental toll is crushing. She seems fine. Unaffected. While I feel like I'm physically breaking apart. So I'm putting this out there because I'm lost. How are you supposed to handle this? How do you grieve for someone who is still walking around your house? Acting like a polite roommate? And how the hell do you stop loving someone who has made it so painfully clear they see you as something to be discarded?